What up, everybody? We are missing
What
one
up,
person,
yo?
but he will be joining us in just a minute. Cash, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic, bro. I really can't complain too much at all. I mean, life is good. We handed out 144 backpacks to kids.
Nice.
That was dope.
Which that was amazing. 144. Like when we started looking at those numbers, it was looking really good, and then all of a sudden we got to the end and we're like, wow, that's a huge number of backpacks.
Yeah.
Tell us
No,
how
it
it
was
went.
dope.
How
It
did it
was
go?
dope, bro. A whole bunch of different people came out. You know what I noticed? A lot of grandparents came out with the kids, man, and that made me feel good. You know what I'm saying? To know that they there because they're obviously close with their grandkids. Some of them pulled up without their grandkids, and they was like, "Oh, I just want to get it from a grandbaby," showing pictures of the kids. I'm like, "That's what's up." So it was good, man. And then all different age groups of kids came out, so that was also amazing. It got me hyped up, bro. It got me rethinking things, about what I really am here to do in this world. You know what I'm saying? Because have not felt that good, bro, in a really long time. I'm not even gonna hold you up. I haven't felt that good doing something like that. Like, I don't know. I can't even explain it. I got chills every single time I handed a backpack out. You can ask Champagne. I got chills. It was like just good to see people smiling and we were meeting a need. And
Yeah,
that for me, that's what it's about.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. That's part of the reason why Streetlights Unity Movement, your vision with the whole thing is so important and everything that is going on. The part that I think that we need to be highlighting more is we will be doing another one this year, maybe even more.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be giving a lot more heads up so we can help even a lot more people. What is
Facts.
your vision with that?
For the rest of the year, I think I'm debating between either Christmas or Thanksgiving for the last event. Either Christmas for like Christmas gifts and maybe like some food. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe Christmas gifts and coats.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. Maybe Christmas gifts and coats, or maybe do like a coat drive and then lead it right on into Christmas. I don't know. But the vision overall, my overall goal is to build a community center.
Hmm.
That's my biggest goal. I want to build a community center that we could do all these things at. You know what I'm saying? So when we hold an event somewhere, boom, we're holding it at different community centers that we have in the country. But the
Great.
very first community center, I wanted to have like a community garden. I wanted to be a gym. I wanted to have a pond. I wanted to have a track. I wanted to have study rooms, like classrooms inside the place for kids to go and study after school program. Just everything that you could think of. I want it to be open 24 hours a day. So if a kid is like homeless, like how I was at 14 years old, they could go there and it's a safe place. They don't got to worry about their safety. They ain't got to worry about if they're hungry or somebody going to judge them. They going to get them the help that they need. So like have
Yeah.
counselors that's there 24 hours a day and just make it safe, man. Just make it something beautiful. That's the goal. And I'm going to get there, God willing.
Yeah. No, you will get there. Well, we will all get there. We'll get it there. The thing is we don't have enough of that in our country. We don't. And let's be honest, if we can start looking out for more each other more, we will be building up the communities in our country around us so we can overall have an amazing country again. Right now, we are definitely dealing with some tough times, but we will get through it.
Facts, man. One day we're gonna own a whole bunch of land. That's another goal that I got for the community garden. It's not y'all thinking just a small garden. I'm talking about it's gonna be a lot of land that's gonna have a whole bunch of vegetables and fruit trees and berries and all everything that you could think of. It's gonna be growing right there. Community garden. And people could just go there when everything is ready to be harvested. They go out there with a basket and get what they need. And then we ask for people to come out and help do the ground the best way that it needs to be done for the next year. You know what I'm saying? And everybody come out and plant. And I'm telling you, bro, that's a vision. And I can see it happening. I can see it happening. Next year is going to be the year, bro. This year, I can't believe we already got as much done as we've gotten done. I can't believe how fast time is moving since I've came home, bro. Like
Facts.
it's just going. And next year, I really feel something big, bro. I do. I feel something big, like life changing that can also change lives. That's what I want to do. I want my life to change just so I can change other people's lives. And it's already started, man. We already getting there.
And we will do that with the Streetlights Unity movement, right?
Yeah.
I agree. And for everybody, we wanted to shout that out and give that a good notice because Kash and team knocked it out this weekend. I unfortunately was not able to make it, but we will be doing it again. We will even do it better and bigger, and then we will continue on that path.
And shout out to Jose Burgos, man. Pastor Burgos used to be Officer Burgos. He was my dare officer. He hosted it at his church, had his whole church family come out and help stuff the backpacks with my kids and my lady. And they had everything set up, man. They helped do everything. So I want to give a shout out to them and Dawn and Dan, because they are the behind the scenes making things roll, baby.
Yes. And we see you guys in the comments everywhere. We see everybody in here. I wanted to have Kash highlight a little bit of that. That also helped me get some of the backstage stuff done, is because we're waiting for Russo. He's just sitting in the back, I don't know, acting like he's on the phone. I have no idea. So you guys know what's going on right now. We are just waiting for the man himself, Donald Trump, to go live on X. And we are about there. So we are just waiting for this to start. I am expecting great things out of this. Now, I am worried X is going to struggle with the amount of traffic that's coming, but we're going to get you guys through it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do some great things. We're going to have some fun here. What do you expect out of this, Kash?
I expect it to be just a informative interview. Probably lay to rest some myths. Probably call some things out that's been said wrong or done wrong by the opposition, if you will. And yeah, it's probably just gonna be a regular awesome Trump interview.
Yeah, I can't say it's going to be regular. I
That's
don't
because
think
you
it's
got
going.
your man crush on there.
I don't think it's going to be regular. I think Elon is going to be. Why in the world does this lock up my whole screen? It's like his page is just messed up right now. We're already having problems, Elon. We are already having problems, Elon. Let's see. Hang on. This is going to be hilarious. If we can't even get this off the gate. Because the part that's going to be interesting is you don't even have the people that enjoy listening to Donald Trump. You have the left that's tuning into this. If you guys haven't seen it on X today, Trump returned to X. Trump was tweeting on X today. Well, was posting on X. And you have today all of these people going nuts, all of the people on the left, and they were like, oh, Twitter blackout. And I've already been blocked by one person by promoting our show today, because I am going to be able to talking about this and we're going to go over it. I have to be blocked. Russo is going to be late. Yes. Russo will be late for his own damn funeral. 100%. That got his attention.
My man was.
But we're waiting for this thing to start. I'm just seeing that X is struggling, right, on cue as I was saying it. Oh, and Free canceled his live spaces tonight because of because of this. Free, if you're watching, shoot me a message if you want to jump on. You're more than welcome.
Said he learned it from me, huh?
But I think overall, Elon's going to bring some solid questions. He's going to bring some good questions. We're going to get some conversation out of Trump that we probably haven't seen out of anybody else. And that's one of the things why I am super stoked to hear this. Elon was in Trump's cabinet in 2017, had a disagreement with Trump, and they separated ways, and now they're coming back together again.
Oh, look at you, just all fluffy right now. Look.
I think it's awesome. I'm excited. I've been jacked all day. Why would there be any different? There shouldn't be. I'm
excited to see it, man. I really am. But at the same time, I hope he says more than attacks. Because he got free reign right now. He might go unhinged, boy.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Leave me alone. I'm trying to take care of serious business.
Well, you shouldn't have joined
care of serious business already.
Oh, before we get started here, because I know the show doesn't start till Daddy walks in.
Trump?
Are people? I'm just. we haven't had to chat in a while, but watching people keep being like, oh, all the Republicans are scared. The Republicans are scared of Kamala. They're scared. I am admittedly scared. I am admittedly scared that we have a country that is this stupid to actually consider what they are selling to the American people. This woman is literally campaigning against her own vice presidency and saying, we're going to fix all these problems while she's the one in office. And people are still eating this shit up. Are they that stupid? That's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm scared. I'm scared of the fact that as much as I want to be unifying and nice and whatever, I am scared that half the country is so stupid that they're buying the garbage coming out of the Democrat Party right now.
Hey, Russo.
Yeah.
You mad, bro?
Yeah, I am. But I am proud to vote for a felon Trump 2022. Yes. You can buy this at awakenotwokestore.com. Use truth for 20% off.
I was just going to say, well, you can vote for Tampon Tim, and he will help your situation.
So, and then they're trying to find a way to switch that bullshit. So to give you guys the truth, do you guys want the truth? Until
you can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. The truth is his bill was just because they're finding a way to make it look good. Everybody gets access to tampons. And you know what? That's a beautiful thing. They're talking about everybody, meaning poor people that can't afford it. And when they went to amend it to make sure that it'll be back. I hate not having a mustache. The thing is, there was an element they were going to add to the bill that said, let's make this just for the multi-gender and the women's bathrooms, to which Tim Walz says, no, every bathroom. So yes, he did put it in the men's bathroom. So that's the truth. That's what people are not understanding.
Audrey, are you okay? I haven't seen Audrey swear like this in real life.
She didn't swear. That's a hashtag number symbol thing. Percentage.
Kash, what do you think?
What does this mean? What is no picture. Sorry, go ahead, Kash.
I mean, I'm just trying to see what's going on. That's it. This isn't news. So it's not like a shock to me. It's election season. What do you expect? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be this, especially when they threw her in there. They did not have a game plan. They're formulating one right now as we speak. Everything that you have seen happening thus far has come from no plan. That's why they're taking Trump's policy and they're saying that, tax on tips. She's going to tax on tips. That's what Trump said. So what you're saying is this guy got it right. Now you can have the same policies, but you have the opportunity to stand on a stage and tell the people what you're going to do for them. And you choose to say the exact same thing where's your other policy? Why couldn't you say literally anything else? You literally plagiarized your political opponent's policy. Why? That's for me, that's what people should be scared about. They're coming in and you can tell that they don't have a plan. You seen what they did with her campaign ad. She said she's going to be tough on the border. Kamala was tough on crime. Essentially, they're admitting that they messed up the border.
Yeah.
That's what they're admitting with that.
Mm-hmm.
You have to fix a border underneath your administration that you couldn't fix under your administration, but you're going to fix it now, which means that Joe Biden failed on the border like everybody's been saying, and y'all been denying it. So it's like, you should be scared about that. Like, they don't got a plan. They're literally going into this thing blind, and they're trying to figure it out and navigate it as they go. But everybody should probably be worried about this election. I ain't even going to sit here and stunt. Even though a lot of people are smart and they love Trump and all of that, you have people that really, really hate Trump and they won't even ever see. They will refuse to see any of the good of Trump's policies for the simple fact of they hate him. And then when they turn on the TV or they turn on the news, they're hearing bad about him. And then they can't even get common ground with the other side, because when they try to listen to people like us, all they hear is a complete opposite, but just equally as strong against. So they're not even willing to listen. And
you
that's
know what,
what's happening.
Kash, you said they had to be like some people are smart and they love Trump. Here's the deal. You don't even have to love Trump. If you love America, you have to realize that there is a better option than Kamala. Here's the thing, there is no worse option than that side of the ticket on the federal level. You could still vote Democrat locally. You could still have different people locally that are better than the Republican. Right. I don't care. And it's not about loving Trump at all at this point. It's about the idea that they are literally 2 steps away from taking away every single one of our freedoms over the next 4 years. And I'm not trying to just instill fear. It's a point where when they have the ability, Kash, to literally say this guy's going to take democracy from us when this woman didn't get a single vote. And then they're going to do all the things that they're projecting onto Donald Trump, they have done.
Yeah, true enough.
But
how do you explain that to somebody who thinks that Trump is the devil and the Democrats are Jesus?
Hang on, guys. Let's clarify a couple things real quick. We are waiting. The space is having issues, so everybody knows Twitter Spaces is having issues. We will be streaming it on X, from X. It will be on here as soon as these issues get worked out. I am seeing that some people are getting in right now, so we might be able to get it up and we can, and be able to play it. But go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Well, the other funny thing I saw earlier was on Bloomberg. They were talking about this event tonight, calling it a right-wing joke. And on Bloomberg, they referred to Elon. They're like, X, Twitter, this experience not doing too well for Elon, is it? I'm like, well, they're charging for subscriptions now. You've got the $9.99. There's all these verified files. I would like to see the bottom line. I think it's doing pretty good, but to see Bloomberg sweating is absolutely mind-boggling. And then you've got Michael Oliver. What's up? Is it Michael? What's Oliver's name? The comedian talk show late night.
Oh, John Oliver.
John Oliver. He literally was referring to some of the speaking points of the Republicans, and then he called the Wall Street Journal editorial board the far right Wall Street Journal editorial board. They're just completely, with the help of the media, lying about everything that comes out right now, and it's ridiculous. The whole weird thing too. I don't know. I'm heated. I was ready to go 15 minutes ago. I was in the back room on the phone, and I'm just champing at the bit to get dirty.
Hey, Russo.
Yes, sir.
I love you, bro.
I knew you were gonna say that. I love you too.
Hey, Kaecey.
Love you too, Kash.
All right.
I'm just jacked. I want to see this. I want to see this happen.
Virtual hugs.
I want to go through this. I think this will be probably one of Trump's best interviews, but it's bothering me that X is failing so early already.
Well, okay. So this is the crowd size thing that they're talking about.
Correct.
If you were going to think that this platform was going to be able to handle the guy that has 188 million followers and then 88 million followers that literally was getting 1 million views in 20 minutes earlier today, and think that it's just going to go smoothly. To me, a broken Spaces to start is evidence of fuck you. We have the actual numbers, and why it's important what Kamala is doing. What Kamala is doing and the media is doing to try to draw all of this vim and vigor for this campaign is because momentum matters when it comes to the presidential election. And if she doesn't have the momentum, if she doesn't have people behind her, which she didn't and really doesn't for the most part, if they can lie about it, people will jump on board. They're creatures of they're followers. So that's why it's important. Are we in?
I am in, but it's not playing audio yet. So we'll just see. Keep going.
Sounds like the first time I was in.
It's going to be all right, guys.
Hang on.
So you know, it's going to be okay. Either way it goes, it's going to be fine. You know what's happened to me?
What happened to you?
I don't know, bro. I think I've had a come to Jesus moment, bro. I literally I just know it's all going to work out.
Which part is
Kash?
working?
That's unfair. You're black. You could just go back to being Democrat at any point, and you'll be accepted by the white liberal horde.
I'm already accepted by the Democrats.
I will forever go down as a white supremacist. My life will be over.
You're not a damn white. You know I haven't cursed all day, and you just made me cuss, bro. You just made me cuss, bro.
I would literally have to. I'm gonna have to steal Nova and be like, "This is mine. It's mine."
No, bro. You don't. I wouldn't trip on none of that, bro. It's literally. This is what I'm saying, right? you don't got to be accepted by everybody. All right. If people don't like you because of your political opinion, that's their loss. I happen to know you. I think you're dope. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that thinks you're a white supremacist because of your political views doesn't know you. It's just that simple. For me, this is what I've been telling people lately. I had to reevaluate myself and I said, what's my goal? What is my goal? Why do I do this? Why do I get online and why do I talk to people? Why do I make content? And when I asked myself that question, it came down to, well, I'm trying to reach people because I like people and I want to help people, whether that be educating them about the things that I know that they may not know, or, you know, providing like the Streetlights Unity movement, handing out backpacks, or if I have a couple of extra dollars, you know what I'm saying? So that's my audience. That's my audience. That's who I'm targeting. And knowing my audience, I can't be divisive and calling them stupid and because they don't know what I know. Because I at one time was very stupid. You would have hated me if you would have talked to me back in like 2015. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have.
Because you'd have been trying to rob me.
You're an idiot. No, fool. Because I had a different view of life, bro. All right, and that's
you've been trying to sell me rap mixtapes out of your trunk.
That's true. Now that's true. That is very true. I made 10 grand out the trunk of my car selling the mixtapes. But anyway, once we get past that, bro, and you just talk to people on a people basis and leave the politics out of it, because politics has wrapped us up so much that we become divided from our fellow people that we live with every single day. Because now they just know you as the conservative talking guy, the Trump guy, instead of knowing you as Anthony that'll give you the shirt off of his back guy, Anthony that'll come and pick you up if you need a ride, Anthony that is all about, you know, positivity. Really, that's really you are. You're a pretty positive dude, but politics makes you not positive. So just got to think about it.
So should I quit?
No, you don't quit. You don't quit. It's never what you say. It's how you say it.
FYI, we are in, guys. We have elevator music. They must be delaying while they're having some issues. So just so everybody knows.
Anyways, yeah, no, Kash, you're right. I know. And again, I don't even know. I don't know if I'll be. They didn't seem that mad. I don't know if I'll be invited back on WBAP in Texas because I called. But I called people buying this stuff dumb, buying this stuff from, and I also called him Jerry Sandusky, which is probably a problem. But like you said, Kash, like they don't know what you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what we know. That to me, and that's how I've always gone about this. But to me, that mentality is bordering on the participation trophy level. They are not privy or they've been programmed, but at one point, like the one woman, Sherry Covens, that I always go off on back and forth after 3 years, and she's like, "You're calling me names. That means you've lost the argument." Here's the deal. Calling somebody an idiot with that is what happens to us when we say something, right? Like, you're an idiot Trumper. If I give reasons why somebody is an idiot over and over, and I'm going through them, like this is this, you're wrong on this, your facts are this, your that is this, your logic is off here, you're an idiot. I didn't lose the argument. I ended the sentence with a period that just is an exclamation mark on why they're an idiot. And I'm just done. I'm done with the idea that we have to placate people because they don't have they have access. That they don't have the same mentality because they only watch CNN or they only look at certain social media. Like, I'm at a point where it's like the fact that you guys still shame me for different things with January 6th, the fact that you guys still are allowed to have all these beliefs and regurgitate false information bothers me. And I no longer could just give you a participation trophy for it's not your fault. I just can't anymore. I have to call it as it is. And like Kaecey at the bat, I'm calling it. If you're against Trump, that's fine. Like, I can understand why you don't like Trump, but if you're buying what is being put out there by Waltz and Krusty the Clown,
so annoying.
You're dumb. Yeah, this music is annoying.
It's very.
Oh, you can hear it? Oh,
yeah.
Hang on. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Russo,
I thought I had it muted.
I understand what you're saying, Russo, but again, it's just you got to ask yourself, what are you trying to do? what is your goal. You don't have to have the conversation with them, but you're choosing to. So why are you choosing to? And then once you understand why, then you got to understand the how. How am I going to do it? Because right when you can make all the points that you just made, right, without calling somebody an idiot. You'd be like, yo, look, I understand where you're coming from, but listen, this is why I just think that she's just a horrible person for this job, or I totally disagree with her stance because of this, and this. You know what I'm saying? But if you're not going into it with the mindset of, like I am, like trying to, unite people or trying to bring people to a better, like, common ground, well, then, yeah, you go about it the way you want to, and then you'll have that separation from them because they won't receive what you're saying because of that one aggressive word is idiot.
But yeah, you're right. But when it's a period of the same conversations with the same people over a period of time, and yes, I'm speaking blindly when I'm on radio to the masses, but they've had access to this information. Right. I can't anymore. Like if you're in the middle, I'm not calling you an idiot. If you're an anti-Trumper, I'm not calling you an idiot. You have reasons to feel that way. Maybe it's a little bit of programming. You've seen the wrong things. When you are blatantly saying like, I'm with Kamala. He's going to take our democracy. He's going to do all these things that are just regurgitated speaking points out of a fake campaign. I just I'll say a couple words. I'll be like, that's wrong because, that's wrong because, that's wrong because. And if you still believe it after all these things, you're dumb.
Yeah. Well,
that
right there,
I've done
it
for 3 years, Kash, and for 4 years now. I feel like we've had the same conversations with people, and the people that have wanted to switch have switched. At this point, this is my last statement. Hopefully it'll be starting soon. At this point, what's important is getting the people that are on our side or just lazy voters on our side to get to the friggin' ballot box and vote. I firmly believe right now most people's minds are made up. I don't think much is changing. I think we have to activate the 3 to 5%, making up these numbers of voters that are like, it'll go whatever way it's gonna go. I would vote for Trump. No, if you would even consider voting conservative, Republican, or for Trump, hopefully my words scaring people out of the fact that there is enough dumb people in this country that are buying what is being put out there and they're brainwashed to the point where they're past the point of no return. We have to fight that level of idiocy with activating laziness on our side. That's my belief system.
I feel that. I'm not going to argue with you about it. I get it. I totally know where you're coming from. Trust me. I know where you're coming from. It's just, again, it comes down to what am I trying to achieve and why? You know what I'm saying? And that's just for me, for Kash, like how I go into it, especially now, man, I'm rethinking a whole bunch of things. It's like, no matter who's going to win this election, I hope to God Trump gets it. God knows I want Trump to win this. But let's say hypothetically he doesn't. I don't want to cut myself off from the people that may need me or that I may need them later down the road. You know what I'm saying? And this season's going to be over. This election is only going to be this year, and then it's over. And then we're next 4 years, and we got to deal with people. We got to be dealing with each other. So let's say that she wins and the country does go to crap. Then we still got to be neighbors to each other. We still got to be countrymen and women, and we still got to help each other out. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at later on down the road. And if Trump wins, it's a better America, but then I can still help the same people. Even though they might be upset that Trump won, they'll see no change in me. I'm not going to be rubbing it in their face like, aha, Trump won, your candidate lost, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just be Kash still, and the way that we deal with people is going to dictate the kind of relationships we have with them. So I'm just trying to make sure that the relationships that I got with all of the people that watch all of us, right, that they're like, yo, even though Kash votes for somebody that I hate and I detest, I still like Kash. Kash is a good dude. I know if I pick up the phone and I need Kash, he's going to be right there. That's me.
And I agree. And I'm on path with that. I'm a little heated, and I'm sure that's the way that I would treat it. I'm just in fear of a very different America, to the point where
yes.
I mean, here's the thing. If we're 2 years in and things are going downhill and I say something, people look at me and go, you're a dickhead, we're conservative, wannabe MAGA, MAGA's dead, our country is the way that it is, like, piss off. I don't really want to be neighborly. I want to live in the middle of nowhere and go online and tell people to fuck off. Like, that's my freedom of speech as long as I still have it. Because I don't, that whole neighborly belief, I don't know if that's still there in a couple of years. if we don't get the ship righted. And I don't want to say this is the most important election of our lifetime. It's that point. Like, look, this is the first time you've got a candidate surging that didn't get a single vote from her delegates.
She don't even have a single policy from her.
You see that comment right there?
What?
Which one? Kash, you good with me, win, lose, or draw, and I'm a proud liberal. That's exactly the kind of common ground. That's what I'm talking about. That right there. A brother that has not, probably doesn't agree with me any way politically, but because of Kash, the kind of person I am, he sees that and not my political stance. That's what I want all the country to get.
And I'm the same way, and I guarantee you there's plenty of liberals that I'll still be cool with, but I have a feeling that the division will continue to break people apart, and maybe Guru will still be cool with both of us and all three of us and whatever, but there is a growing horde. And again, a liberal is a different thing. I've continued to have this conversation. Like, the more I look at policies, I'm liberal. I really am. I'm very liberal based on what a liberal is supposed to be. But when it comes to the Democrat Party and the leftists, like, they're not, they are what used to be the Democrats, and like that is, they are the Dixiecrat. I mean, it has made the full switch to the other side, and they're the side that is controlling media, which makes us a non-American country anymore if they continue to be in power. How I know we're getting a lot of comments. I'm looking at my Twitter as well. Some people are having trouble coming in.
Will you do me a favor and try to play it on your phone since you're on an iPhone?
Okay.
I anticipate it's still going to be broken, but it's just a difference.
What am I trying to play our video, or am I trying?
No. Go to Trump's X.
There's people saying is Trump on right now. They're trying to watch it too. Not even on my thing, just right when I turned on my X.
Yeah, there's people trying to say that it's going.
Elon Musk just posted 1 minute ago, there appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we'll proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later.
Not cool.
I figured that's what everybody right now is like, yo, is Trump on? It's Trump.
Well, that's what we're trying to wait. Guys, if Trump was talking, we wouldn't be talking. Like, can we all clarify that? Because it wouldn't be happening. But right now, this whole situation is because X...
The space is not available.
Yeah, okay. So you have the same problem as everybody else.
But there's 198,000 people in it.
Oh, there's a hell of a lot more trying to get it.
No, 0 have joined this space. Everybody is out currently.
No, I had it up earlier. The thing is people are in, some people are able to listen. I haven't been able to since it started. And I've been trying.
Your comment up there, David, talking about we're in a war. You know what? That's funny because we had this conversation on breaking the barriers, and I don't disagree with you that we're in a war, but I just don't see the war that we're in being with people. I see it being with an ideology or a spiritual aspect. It's not a war. I'm not in a war with a Democrat. I'm not in a war with a liberal.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in a war with an ideology, really, an ideology that is harmful for the people that I care about around me and the people of our country. And once we can separate and understand that person that holds that belief is a person just like you, and they hold that belief for whatever reason. Something shaped their mind to believe the way that they did. Maybe they're indoctrinated because of the news. Maybe they were raised that way, whatever it is. But don't become separated from that person. Now, I'm not talking politicians. Politicians to me is a whole different game. Y'all know how I feel about the politicians. My concern is for the people. I'm probably not going to see half of these politicians ever in life, maybe less than half, but I'm gonna see people every day, regular people that's on the ground with me that hold a different opinion than me about a lot of different things. I don't want to become divided from them for anything. As long as they're not harming my family or stealing from me, then I want to help them. I want them to be my brother. I want them to be my sister. That's what I'm after. That's my goal.
And to be clear, I've turned the other cheek to the other side, like Kash, like you said. I'm against the ideology. I'm against not just Democrat. I would say I am against the elite ring of the government and much of the overlords of the media. That's who I am. If I'm in an ideological war against those people. when it comes to the Democrats that have hated me for my beliefs for 4 years, I've turned the other cheek for a long time. This is literally the first time as a group. Now, there's individuals where I've said, okay, stop being stupid. You're an idiot. On very rare occasions when we've gone back and forth over a long period of time. But for the most part, I will continue to say I am not against those people that have gone against me as a group. I am against the specific elite leftist horde in media and in politics. And honestly, I consider many conservative rhino Republicans to also be a part of that horde. It's not just Democrats. It's the elite. As Kaecey's name is America versus the government. Like, that's where we are. But against the other people that have a different ideology, no. But I have turned the other cheek for a very long time. And if it continues through a whole nother presidency, that the country goes to complete decline and it continues to go to complete decline and shit, there's a point where I'm just going to be like, I'm going to keep doing my work and my job and whatever it is, and I'm going to enjoy my life. But everybody can piss off at a certain point when it comes to that other side. I can only respect for however many years and be beaten across the face. I'm not Jesus, Kash and Kaecey. I'm not. There's a certain point where I'm just going to say, fuck off.
I feel you. I get there too. I'm just battling it, bro. That's my thing. Like, believe just a week ago, I was telling people to go F off. You feel me? But I don't know. Like I say, every day I look at my goal. What is my goal? What am I trying to do? Who am I trying to reach and why? And when I see that, it reminds me, okay, you can't be out here. You can't be spreading division. You can't be sowing a seed that's going to yield something that's divisive. I don't want to do that. That's just for cash, though. And I understand people that are politically inclined, and that's your thing. If that's what you want to do, you got a different goal than me. I'm not talking about you specifically, Russo. I mean people in general.
I get you.
Everybody has their own reasons of why they do things. So I looked at my reason and why I'm doing what I do. So I'm trying to clean myself up. And that's all I can do. I can only pull my weeds. I can't pull nobody else's weeds. I got my own yard I got to take care of. So I do that. So that way, if I'm all the way good, I know I'm being good to the people that are around me. That's it.
Can I make a strong suggestion? I don't know if you guys watch this. Two things. First off, Kaecey, I have an idea. Can you find an account that's streaming it?
I've already looked.
There's nothing. So not anybody.
Benny Johnson. The biggest names don't even have it going.
Okay. I was just thinking, that might be a good workaround. Secondly,
I'm going to keep looking though.
Okay. Second idea second thing. Have either of you? Well, I know Kaecey's working. Has either of you watched the Vivek Ramaswamy and Mark Cuban interview?
Mm-mm.
I watched part of it.
Shockingly, as much as I really distaste Mark Cuban at this point. Mark Cuban was interrupted Vivek a lot. Mark Cuban reminded me of Donald Trump without the Donald Trump ideology. We learned a couple things in it. The reason he hates Donald Trump is because there's a lawsuit between him and Barbara Corcoran. They like that came up at the end. I'm like, oh, now I know why he's so anti-Trump. With that said, he gave one of the best descriptions of and implications and the way DEI would work on like his version of it, the way that he says it and the freedom behind it. I'm still not for DEI, but Mark Cuban was one of the most intelligent interviews I've ever seen. And I hate to say it because I've slammed him a lot lately. I disagree with the way he brags about paying taxes. I disagree with his anti-Trump politics, whatever it was. He's not just some hothead that had a tech company that owned the Mavs. It was an incredibly intelligent conversation between him and Vivek. I strongly suggest people watch it. That's all I have to say. And that'll I wish some of the people on the left could articulate some of their beliefs in that manner. And also in that manner, realize that the way that they think that things are is actually not the way they seem. He doesn't believe in DEI for colleges. He believes it all based on merit. And when it comes to the workforce, he says that nobody should be forced to do it. And he said that's not the way that it really is. He explained it in an interesting sense. And he says there's a lot of places that we're not looking for good talent because we're not being forced to. If you're forced to look, you don't have to hire. And it was a very interesting viewpoint of DEI. But there was also the way they talk about business, pharmaceuticals, industry, the stock market. It's worth the hour is all I can tell you. The interview is happening apparently right now. Nobody can have access to it. We just got Elon Musk saying that he will be putting it up later if they will air it then.
Somebody
Hang on.
said LV Nation is streaming it.
LV Nation. Let's try to find it.
LV Nation on YouTube.
I guess so.
They're one of the rare ones that got it.
Yep.
I'll look it up on.
LV Nation is restreaming Benny Johnson.
But Benny Johnson's on?
No. Benny Johnson showed his cell phone showing how many people were actually have it. I have Benny Johnson up here. He's not playing the stream right now.
And our truth isn't working.
Dude, they're all having problems. X is struggling right now.
You know the media tomorrow is going to eat this up.
Well, of course they are. They ate him up. They ate Elon up over the Cybertruck, and when he bashed that big ball into the window and it broke. Little did they know, I guarantee you he did that intentionally, just get people talking about it. Elon Musk is much smarter than the media. I'm trying to see if I could join from Elon Musk's page because I've had a couple attempts and it seemed like it might have worked. Still trying.
I think maybe it's just my computer, but all of Twitter is working incredibly slow.
This issue.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
See, that's Benny Johnson.
Yeah, no, it's not working.
Oh, yeah, it's we all knew we were gonna start listening. Can I get in? Can I hear? Do I get more than elevator music? Please. Elevator music.
Yeah, nobody's got it. I went on LV Nation and that's just clickbait.
Yep.
And not on purpose either. LV Nation is credible. That boy be going in. He just I guess he titled it the same way we did. And he's just talking on there with some other people because
Let's see if I can find.
Nobody could get it right now. They're not streaming it anywhere. They're probably going to pre-record it, bro. They're going to record it and then release it. That's what's going to happen.
All spaces are all spaces can be recorded with a checkbox. So I guarantee you that's what's going to be happening. But I don't have the patience. I want to hear it now. The big thing is I'm already seeing stuff coming out. Like there was an offer for Elon Musk to be part of a cabinet and different things that I'm seeing, which is, I wish I could go back and find that. Where was that? Where was that post? But yeah, this is definitely proven that X is not ready for the amount of traffic that could come its way. Like, there's a lot.
It's a comment up here. It says, I cannot support a party that thinks sexualization of children is okay. And we agree. So I want to say this to everybody, right? When I'm talking about my unity stuff, in no way am I trying to get nobody to switch parties or none of that. That's not the goal, right? I want you to remember Jesus. When Jesus was walking around on the earth, he hung around with a whole bunch of sinners, right? But he didn't partake in the sin. So he didn't join them in what they were doing. He made them, by his own actions, join him in what he was doing. And they turned away from what they was doing. And everybody on this earth is called to what? Be that example. Be that change. Let that light shine in you. You ain't got to partake in none of the stuff that these people do. You ain't got to join a political party or none of that. I'm not saying that for nobody. All I'm saying is don't let nothing divide you from the people that you come in contact with on a day-to-day basis, especially political views. That's all I'm saying, because they don't know. At one time, you didn't know. At one time, there was something that you did not know. Just like there's some things right now that we don't know, that we might change our opinion about later. But give everybody that same grace that God gives us. That's my advice. You ain't got to take it, but that's my advice. I'm trying to do it. It's rough. Trust me. It's very hard to do. It is so hard, especially on TikTok. But, you know, it can be done. Just got to practice. I'm practicing right now.
Practice?
Practice.
About practice? Not
Listen.
A game. Talking about practice?
Who was even saying that, Cash?
The dog thinks I'm getting.
Who was calling out practice?
Allen Iverson. Come on, man. The GOAT. We're not talking about a game. We're talking about practice. Practice? We talking about practice. But nobody was more viral than this clip right here. Drake? Drake?
What? What clip?
Ray, what's
What are
that
you talking
one?
about?
Drake. That's Soldier Boy. You never seen that clip when he was on the Breakfast Club? Oh, it's hilarious, bro.
No, I don't
I
think
love
so.
Soldier Boy. He's hilarious. Hilarious. So yeah.
Let me see if I can find another Spaces that
Did
has
he
it.
pass
Hang on.
away?
No. Soldier
No.
Boy? No.
Somebody in Soldier Boy is no longer with us.
What?
I'm looking it up.
Soldier in
No.
Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy is a person.
Okay, that's not. Who am I thinking of?
Tell me you're white without telling me you're white.
Who? Somebody. I swear somebody died.
Soldier Boy hit somebody to try to rob his house.
Who
Pop
am I
him.
thinking of? I don't know.
Definitely not Soldier Boy.
He's still alive.
Soldier Boy is hilarious and very intelligent.
Oh my gosh.
I think you're thinking about DMX, yeah.
Whatever, David. We didn't try. The U.S. gave you the medal because we felt bad for you. That's why.
I know DMX is dead. Okay, I get that's not who I'm thinking of.
Oh god.
I think I think everything on X is wonky right now, to be honest, because I'm on it looking at different things and like I'm clicking stuff, nothing's working. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
I cannot.
Somebody got in the space, Taylor?
Yeah, but are you hearing music or are you hearing them talk?
Taylor, are you hearing music or hearing them talk? Just in case you don't speak Kaecey's.
Really? You said the same shit I said.
If you're wondering, him and I said very similar things.
Shut the hell up.
Shut the fuck up.
Can you guys both be quiet, please?
What? You want silence?
That was just me being polite. You said it one way, he said it another way. I said it the proper way.
Is there a proper way?
There
Only
is.
hearing music. Oh, that's somebody else, Taylor. Okay.
I might have a good sign.
That was a bust.
I don't have Donald Trump talking or music playing, so we're gonna just see if this starts working.
I was just on Benny Johnson. There's nothing there.
No, I have Benny Johnson up here. He's got all of his crew on right now. They're all talking.
He said jail softened you, Kash. No, man, it ain't that. I've been reading my Bible. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been just reading my Bible and trying to apply it. That's it. That's all. Just for myself. Like I say, I'm just giving advice. Don't nobody got to take it. You can do whatever you want to in life. The American way. And God gave you free will. For Kash, though, I'm trying to do something different. Said I'm in, but I can't hear anything.
That's what she said.
I'm in, but I can't hear anything.
Technically, that's what he said.
Whoa. Whoa.
What?
Who is he?
This Twitter space is a lot like Kirk Douglas. No,
I don't know who that
it's
is.
a lot like Kirk Douglas's. No, Michael Doug. It's a lot like Michael Douglas's tongue.
I don't know who that is.
What the?
What? He got
Who's
throat
Michael
cancer.
Douglas?
Throat cancer from cunnilingus. His
I don't
tongue
know
is
what-
in, but he can't hear anything because the legs are around him.
I don't know what that
Go
is.
to Timcast IRL. I had Tim up earlier. He wasn't playing it. Go on to
Did you
Timcast.
see what Waz said?
Yeah, yep, it's correct.
Fact.
You'll find out when you get home after the bar. That's for sure.
Good. I'm straight. One woman man.
This went left politically or conversationally.
Yeah, maybe both. I mean, technically.
I guess so. Message said it's working. Try it again.
Yeah, I'll try again. I was checking in Timcast because it was in the comments, but yeah, Tim's talking. So,
Coach Lake.
oh snap! I might be getting in. Hang on, my phone just alert. Damn.
Benny Johnson still isn't playing it, just as a heads up.
No, yeah, I got it up here.
Everybody on the edge of their seat. Look at K-Soda. He got happy. Oh my God, I might be getting in. They're
Dude,
opening
I have
the
my
doors.
phone. I have my phone sitting at this stage, like waiting for audio.
Trump
then
is
stay
inside
a
of
little bit
Elon
here.
Musk's spaces. He's penetrating the metasphere.
Oh my god.
Says the two guys that have just been chilling all day.
That was good.
What do you think about JD Vance? I think he's been answering questions pretty good. I've been surprised at how much I've liked him on different
In
things.
drag?
I don't know. I'm just talking about JD Vance. Guru is clearly being maroon. Hey, I got news for you.
Was in drag?
I wore
No.
I wore drag in college, my freshman year of college, Halloween. I dressed up like a really ugly bearded woman on Halloween. I'll admit it. Not afraid.
This last Halloween, like October 2023?
That 19
Was he pretty,
no,
Guru?
2000.
He said that he was in drag. I gotta look that up now.
Let's see.
He's young, so I guarantee you he did it. Guarantee you he did.
Vance in drag. What
Porn
this
stash.
Vance in drag. Second photo alleged to show JD Vance. Okay. I'm kind of curious about this.
I want to see.
He's getting dragged for hypocrisy. That's funny.
That makes more sense.
What? Photo of JD Vance in drag while at Yale Law School?
Oh,
I don't think this isn't him. Okay, this is him pretending to be a woman, but I don't know. It's clearly a joke. Again, the same way that I have told you that I did this in college.
And someone can go after Justin Trudeau for blackface.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Here, I'll show the photo in a second. I'm having trouble getting it.
So that sun is killing me.
Sorry, I can't. Those blinds are broken.
No.
oh, and Russo doesn't know how to use a power tool, so it's gonna stay broken.
I don't even have time to make this call on time. Sorry.
You mean every live on time?
Man, so I want to see that picture. That's funny if it is.
Here you go.
That's not drag.
That's kind of how I feel like if I say that, the people on the left are going to be like, it is drag. It's him dressed up as a woman for probably Halloween or a goth something. I mean,
oh, that's drag right there. Yeah, that is drag.
Oh, I mean, he's wearing a dress. I mean, the question is, he looks like he's 18 to 20 years old. I don't know. Again, this is maybe my liberal side. This isn't drag. Like I'm going to go out and get in front of women and shake my dick in front of women. I don't know.
Yo. My man's wearing a dress, dog.
Have you never have like put on nails with your daughter or anything like that? You've never
I let my daughter paint my nails, but I ain't put on a wig and a dress. Now I did put on a wig one time to do Dan the Surfer Man. I pretended to be a surfer guy named Dan, but I would never put on a dress. I'm like Dave Chappelle in that aspect. You're not doing that to me.
I mean, I went to art school, so trust me.
There's a gigabits of data we're saturated.
Oh, it's on.
We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what President Trump has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just get a feel for what Donald Trump is just like in a conversation. So it's hard to catch a vibe about someone if you just don't hear them talk in a normal way. And when there's an adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. So this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who just trying to make up their mind. So you can understand like what is what is it just like to have a conversation. So honored to Donald, great to to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people. And it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive.
You busy or
And,
something,
so
or what?
We have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, I mean, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, you know, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You know, you, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that's, I mean, you know, the president of the United States represents America, and I think that is America. That is strength under fire, and so that's you know, a big you know, part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president of the United States for having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that the ear is a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about, because it went at the right angle, and you know, it was a hard hit. It was very. I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. You know, I was telling somebody, you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation. And I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it, you know, it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, bullets, bullets, you know, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly. And we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter. And so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was, for those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to, you know, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. But it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle, and all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more now.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe that's a sign. You know,
it's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue, and at that moment.
That's right.
The bullet missed your, you know, hit your ear, but you know, missed your head. I mean,
the amazing thing is that the sign, I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about an eighth of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad situation. As you know, we lost somebody that was great, Corey, who, a firefighter, a great gentleman, a great trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, I'd like to give the family some kind of help. And I said, all right, that's great. He said, do you mind? I said, I don't mind at all. And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, you know, she said, this is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back, which is a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them, and for two other gentlemen are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the two. and they were really hit tough, both of them equally. And we thought my first question was because I heard bullets flying over me, and I said, "How many people were killed?" Because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous, thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, "How many people have been killed?" Because I knew there were other shots being fired, and they said, "We don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt." And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used one bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium, and he saw the smoke and the flame from the gun, immediately recognized it, and immediately took a shot. And it was one perfect shot from very far away. And if he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been badly hurt and killed. So I have to take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years, and he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden he has to act, and it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun, very far away. I obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have to have in that particular work. But he took aim very quickly, and they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range, one bullet. If that didn't happen, because the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up there with him. So
I mean, that's clearly, he was very competent in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be, some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, I view it as two ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people, because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him, and there was one woman with a red shirt and Trump all over it, and she's screaming, "That guy's got a gun!" You saw it probably. There's a guy up there with a gun.
I mean, it's like I guess, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering, how the heck are, basically people wondering by pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun. And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and he saw the man with the gun. The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly, but he fell down, and he did. From what I understand, he did say, "There's a guy up there with a gun," and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot. My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf, sinking a 2-foot putt.
It's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had triple the distance, actually. So it was a terrible thing. Look, it's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think, their screaming. but other people also, because people saw this happen. You know, you had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, you know, some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You know, you had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. You, as far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and a lot of press too. There was, you know, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it, so you know, sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede. Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, you know, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down, but the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing. And these guys,
I hope Elon
came
actually
jumping on
challenges
top
why
of
they
me,
didn't pull
you
him
know,
off
and a
stage.
young lady,
Nobody's
Kate,
asked that question.
would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now there was a lack of coordination. There was, you know, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered, and
I mean,
that was the
I think
big
that,
thing.
like, I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like the, if you were to pick, like, what is the favorite, what if you, so if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building, the
You're
roof
right.
of that building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like
no,
#1.
that would have been the spot. You know what people think
Yeah.
is when the local policeman, who, by the way, you know, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But what happened is the firing took place very soon. So what they think is that this guy ran to his site, which he had all planned out with the gun. He ran to the site and he started shooting fast. And maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, you know, he
but
he
as you
got
said,
me,
he
but it
would have
could have
hit.
been could have been a much bigger problem.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So, like, you know, there was it was a very near thing.
It was a miracle. If I hadn't turned my head,
yeah,
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly.
I would not.
Yeah,
I would not be talking.
I mean, be talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a different place. But it was a you know, it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, you know, there was just a bad feeling that there was somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been And if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, you know, like there'd be a lightning storm or something, because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And that happens often. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but it didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
Well, it was your I think your actions in the heat of fire, and, you know, like what I found admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And so
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know, you know, I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me, and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, sir, you were hit more than the ear. I said, nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up. And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think. And I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I got up because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up before the hand, before the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing. It was a terrible thing, but it was
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Maybe this, maybe this is worth talking about that.
It was
that slide saved your life.
No, the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it was it had to be at that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal immigration.
The incredible thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle. But the incredible thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment.
Yeah.
It's always on my left, never my right. And it's always at the end of the speech. So here we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were unprepared, and they did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet came whizzing by, hitting my ear. So it was amazing. But when you think of the odds of that, and you know that normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then it would have been a very different story. It's very much, I say, an act of God. It's a miracle that it happened, and I'm honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted?
Well, I was going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great. These are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey, killed, and the other two, the families I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying, prior to being so horribly interrupted. But
so rudely interrupted by an assassination attempt.
But the chart.
Some people have no manners.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that, in my last week, we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous chart. But that was the lowest point ever recorded. It was a really, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They said it's the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes. And in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that. But They were fantastic numbers, but I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but but we also need to shut down illegal immigration, and especially unvetted illegal
Yes.
immigration, because and that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately
100%.
represent your position?
I say it
Okay.
very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked.
Yeah.
Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's
Yeah.
saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too, you hear 12 million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad, October 7th, because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad
Sure.
when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something, because he's not too good.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to have a secure border. I mean, you're really not a country unless you have a
Correct.
secure border. And
secure elections too.
absolutely.
I'm going to get a refill. I'll be right back.
So it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities. But as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and I, speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant, and I think that I mean, like, one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are gonna, be great contributors to our society and to our economy,
Right.
and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that, like, in my opinion, actually, I'd say, like, probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's if somebody's like uh, has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what's taken them so long to get here, because we're in such a target-rich environment. I mean, why aren't more people who have a career in, bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob, houses in LA or New York, compared to other parts of the world. And in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
insane.
it's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon,
They're
I hate
not.
to say, because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it, but uh, you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're
I
allowing,
think you're
again,
right.
they're
Yeah.
allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're delivering them into
But that's what Castro did.
yeah,
That.
well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
You know, it was a much smaller
Yeah.
scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down. And wait till you see the numbers that we have. You know, this is migrant crime. This is crime that's going to be.
Yeah.
And I saw it today in New York where somebody was knifed with raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters and started
Sure.
pulling out the knives, and bad things happen today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for
Yeah.
murder and all sorts of things. And they're releasing them into our country. And they're telling them, if you come back, we're going to kill you. We're going to give you the death penalty or kill you. So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it because, now she's trying to say
Sure.
she had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure, but
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the problem
Yeah.
is. But she was the
Well,
border czar, and people
Yeah.
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known
Yeah.
what happened. You could shut the border down. He
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the difference. But uh, the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her
Yes.
that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a World War Z zombie apocalypse at times. And sometimes you got to sort of wonder, like, is it real or not? So because you see things, you're like, is it real? I went to the border at Eagle Pass, and I saw for myself in Texas, and I was like, okay, it's real. I'm like seeing this in real time. I actually posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly.
These are
people can look at my video and say,
Yeah.
hey, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
These are people that
Um,
Elon would not be the same man if he had to walk across the street and look these people in the eye. These are rough people. These are really rough people coming across. And I know rough people. And these are people that we don't want in our country. And the caravans are coming in, and they're putting and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing
Yeah.
it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason the numbers are much bigger than you would think is they're also taking their non-productive people. Now, these aren't people that will kill you. We have enough of them. But these are people that are non-productive. They are just not productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not
Yeah.
workers, or they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases. And they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug dealers and the people that are really brutal people. And they're coming into our country
Yeah.
at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years,
Yeah, no, no.
we have 20 million people
I
poured
think
in.
is
It's a terrible.
yeah. I
thing.
think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't
left
have a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the 4. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
Yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like it's like almost no one was from Mexico. to
No,
be clear.
Mexico
It's-
less.
It's just
less
it's
than
just the
others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico, but the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
US.
already
So,
overwhelmed, Elon. We're
He said it's
overwhelmed.
the rest of
You gotta
Earth.
see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And what they're doing to it is horrible. What they're doing to it, and all the courts do is they
Yeah.
try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong. I complain about a rigged election. Elon, what's happened is unbelievable. You have from Africa, from the Congo, they're coming from the Congo, and 22 people came in from the Congo recently, and they're murderers, and they're dropped. They drop them. They take them out of jails, which is very expensive, to maintain the jails. Although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons. They take them
Bullshit.
out and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, "Don't ever come back, or you're going to be executed." And they don't want to come back, but they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa. They're coming from Asia. They're coming from the Middle East. They're coming from South America.
just
They're
Earth,
coming from
rest of Earth,
everywhere.
basically.
And there are a lot of
Yeah,
really
everywhere on
bad
Earth.
ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth, or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible. So
Well, Elon, we're going to have to finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country. What they've done to our country. Think of it, with in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. The same with other countries.
Sure.
Some are 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it?
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, "Oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly," or "I did well in the debate." The first night they said, "Wow." One of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different.
Yeah.
Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said, we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it.
Well,
and we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of
Well,
it.
yeah.
You take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have
No, no, you're,
inflation
yeah.
was caused by oil.
Yeah, no. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are, are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do, and do they fear the American president, or is there someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would. They rightfully be. I mean, look at the footage with the assassination. They're like, okay, uh, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam Shifty Schiff, some just bad people, just sick people. Frankly, I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But they put our country in danger with that stuff too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund, and this pathetic president gets in there. And the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow.
Yeah.
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, it's inconsistent. Certainly, but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing, to listeners, the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security, because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them.
And that puts the whole world in danger.
Elon, I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough. They're smart. They're vicious. And they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass. They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise. You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they were They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. It is zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again. Getting along well with them is a good thing, not a bad thing. I got along well with Kim Jong-un. When I met with President Obama just before entering, it's a sort of a ritual. And I sat down with him and we talked. It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
My big red button.
All of a sudden, I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were.
Like
no, they were epic. Everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger, and my red button works. And then I called him Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden, I got a call from him. And they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met, as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger. But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff, too. Exactly. He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage.
Yes, I mean, it's because, people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well,
and
he and I had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say. Let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an amazing period. But we were not in danger with him because of me. I always say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama, if you think about it, Obama and Biden, and Bush to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat. The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all. There's nothing on the board that goes this long. He said things that were so stupid that war would have been, that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite, everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed
I
in
feel the
Ukraine than
same
you
way
read
about
You don't
BB
read
as
about
well
how
at this
bloody
point.
it is and how disaster.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the two armies, you lost 500,000 people. And
Yeah.
you know, Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story, but if you think about it, Russia's gone. You know, Russia defeated Germany with us, and they defeated Napoleon. You know, they've been around a long time. They're a big fighting force, and it's very unfair. And Ukraine now doesn't have enough men. They're now using young men and very old men to fight, and we're in a very bad position. And I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you, I could have stopped that, and a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it. It made it more prevalent. It was so bad. The words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason whatsoever.
I think you're right. I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just you know, when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity. And you know, it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. You know, Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to, you know, start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an Iron Dome. But you know, with all of that being said, to me, that's so important, the most important. But with all of that being said, the election's coming up, and the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen. And it's a shame. And that's the thing that people most care about, in my opinion. They care about the border a lot. And we discuss the border at great length. It's nice to have a forum like this where I can discuss something.
Blake, what?
And by the way, you think Biden could do this interview? Do you think that Kamala could do this interview? They would take a pass on you.
No, they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions. It's pretty sad when you think that somebody that does this for a living can't answer a question or is afraid to do an interview. And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty sad.
Yes, absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon. And as much as I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need, because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. You know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening, and we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from. Inflation comes from government overspending, because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are
Facts.
we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible?
Right.
And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly
Right.
every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest.
And it keeps
Yeah,
growing.
I rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military, did a great job on it, which was so important. You know, we had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old. And we did a great job in that. Then we, by the way, then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. You know, they're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to the economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you know you have a good, and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. You know, they stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything. And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going to need a lot of electricity. You're going to need tremendous electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, like this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible, and so the country lives within its means, just like a person
The
does?
waste is incredible, and nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people making jets, and you end up with two companies, and they'll probably try and merge at some point. I mean, I went through it, like Air Force, just a thing like Air Force One. One of the first documents they asked me to sign, a general said, "Sir, would you please sign this document?" And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion for two planes. Now, now they're highly sophisticated.
That's insane.
They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
That's a crazy number.
It's a crazy number. But I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by
the numbers are astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?"
Fired
They go on
80%
strike.
of Twitter
I
and
won't
look at
mention
it
the
today.
name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
By the way,
out.
congratulations. I
Yeah.
just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I chat. We'll call it a chat. But congratulations. This is very good. I mean, it's great. And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big,
Malay's awesome.
he's great. And he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly. He came in, he bought a lot of hats, he brought everything, but he's doing a big job. He really cut. And I'm hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like 2,000%.
Exactly.
They had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included.
Yeah. Well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having just so many departments you can't even name them all. And what Malay is doing is he's cutting government spending. He's simplifying things. He's putting in regulations that make sense. And Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. In the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy, we can run the country into the ground. And that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So
You
we're
replied
ranked at
down
the bottom
below,
of
Russo.
every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7. But we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education.
Did he just say Newsom?
Of the 50,
yeah, that's what he calls Gavin Newsom.
35 would do great, and 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well-run.
Sure.
And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well, but they'll actually be forced to do better, because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than
Anonymous
what
libertarian
it is
is
in
wise.
Washington. And
Yeah.
these people don't care
Well,
about the
yeah.
students in these, faraway states. And it'd
Well,
be unbelievable.
yeah. I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally
right.
move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through it. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But
Yeah.
some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do it good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that
Yeah.
the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little
Yeah, yeah.
monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching English as an example. Give us
Yeah.
a little English, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
No, but I mean, too much. I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul.
It's
sales.
actually
It's
amazing.
just people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois, so many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But, I mean, I just wonder, how do these states survive when big businesses, a big oil company just left California, as you know, and they moved to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses and their taxes are already really high? The taxes are among the highest taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job in their crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right. Well,
That's
you're
the
going to
only
have
thing that's going to
that.
get them to change.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know every one of these, and some are very good, and some are just horrible.
Well, I think that the larger point here, too, as you're saying, like a lot of people are concerned about the economy. A lot of people are concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money, and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation. And if we can solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really big deal.
Well, the people that got hurt worst are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people that saved money and then they got no interest on their money and inflation destroyed them. And frankly, they were almost better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated, and we're going to bring those people back and help those people. We've got to get the prices down. When I look at bacon costing 4 or 5 times more than it did a few years ago, when you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, a lot of people just don't have the money. They go in and they can't buy anything. They look at it's sticker shock. They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason, but unless you've got effective deregulation, like Reagan did a great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we had anyone really. I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think there's opportunity to make, I think, radical progress with sensible regulation. And if
Well,
you know,
Elon, we
those two things, yeah, those are the big deals.
we set a record. We did more deregulation and more restrictions on all of the different businesses than any other president. Remember, I had the rule for every one we put in, you have to get rid of 10 or 12. And we did
Yes.
radical cuts on all of that. And a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that weren't necessary. But we were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in and we had to focus on that and nobody knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But had that not happened, a gift from China, from Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right. But had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia. And we were going to drill and we were going to make so much money. We were going to supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to make a fortune. And then the COVID came in and we really had to divert. Then what happened is when they came in, you know, we kept a lot of businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in, he got trillions of dollars and just started spending it stupidly. You didn't need it anymore. You know, we got over that bad period where everybody was dying and, you know, it was just not a good period. Interestingly, you know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration. And we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years. And also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best. Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better, and everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about, like, you know, maybe my views on, you know, climate change and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume. Because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, you know, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry. And I you know, the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there. It's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as you know, a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about roughly 2 parts per million per year. So I mean, it still gives us. So what it means is like we still have quite a bit of time, but so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to like stop farmers from farming, or prevent people from having steaks or
Right.
basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree.
in
How
my
crazy
opinion.
is that? Where
I mean,
you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is
yeah,
a
that's
little
silly.
crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I do say though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to, but I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet.
Yeah.
But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's
He said
Anwar. That's
unimproved.
bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure, really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that time, something will come around that will be very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that. But it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view is like if you just look at sort of the parts per million that increments every year, you get sort of 2 or 3 parts per million every year of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates, if you start going from 2 or 3 to say 5, and then there may be some situations where you get just a step change increase in the CO2. And I think we don't want to get too close to 1,000 ppm, because like that's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard.
Right.
Just so it's that's actually, you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over, and like, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on balance, it's probably better to move there faster than slower, but like I said, without vilifying the oil and gas industry, and without causing hardship in the short term. I think this can be done without, people can still have a stake, and they can still drive gasoline cars, and it's okay. It's like, it's not. I don't think we should vilify people for it, but I think we should just generally lean in the direction of sustainability. I actually think solar is going to be a majority of Earth's energy generation in the future, and it's certainly trending that way. And so you get the solar power, combine that with batteries, so because obviously the sun doesn't shine at night, and then you use that to charge the electric cars, and you have a long-term sustainable solution. And that's what Tesla is trying to move things towards, and I think we've made a lot of progress in that regard. But when you look at our cars, we don't believe that environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I made this sexy joke: Model S, Model 3, Model X, and Y spells out sexy. It was probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know. I like cheesy humor, So, but I'm not. I'm a big fan of, like, let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing
Right.
people.
I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because you have some places that go up, and so they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming, because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars, and it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with. I'm sure you'll be the first. But it would seem that a solar panel on the roofs, on flat surfaces, on certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world,
Sure.
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me,
Sure.
that's an immediate problem, because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear, and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president, because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and I mean, we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that you're not surprised to hear, very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's a problem, but it's degrees. To me, the big problem is the nuclear power. The power of nuclear is so great. And when I talk about I'll prevent World War III, I will.
Happy birthday, John.
Is that you have to, because this is no longer army tanks going back and forth and shooting at each other. This
is not completely true, David. It depends on how it's wired.
That nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. Right. And there's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. And you compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is it's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
bad branding.
Right,
the
we'll have to
branding
rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something. No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened,
it does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, like people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine, It's like Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed, but now they're like full cities again. So it's really not
That's
something that, you know,
That's
um,
right.
so it's not as scary as people think, basically.
Yeah.
But let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Oh, you know, like lawfare. I think, you know,
Well,
we need to be concerned about.
what they've done to
Um,
this country.
obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals, like Fani, you know, Fani, spelled Fani, Fani. And it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare. It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, you know, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, you know, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, you know, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach, and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? You know, he thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's ridiculous. I mean, and he's been doing that for a long time. You know, he can't lift the chair. The chair weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly not, I mean, he's clearly like, we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't have a
That's just obviously
president,
the
and
case.
she's going to be worse than him because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states there you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible, but she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
Yeah.
I want a wall.
I think that's,
you know, she wants to release all the prisoners that are in detention. And some of these guys are really bad.
Right.
That just came out today. She doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. You know, in your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, you know, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
yeah, this is simply not true. This is simply not true.
And everybody knows it's not true.
true.
It's a disgrace that she can say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders. She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly, you're not going to have a country anymore. And she'll go back to all
Yeah.
of the things that she believes in. She believes in defunding the police. She believes in no fracking, zero. You know, now all of a sudden she's saying, no, I really want to see fracking. If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. You know, like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. You know, both sides. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. I mean, Netanyahu came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. You know, what does that say?
I think it's highly disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person, or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, you know, is a very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. You know, their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can be swamped. We'll use the term that's appropriate, swamped. But they swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles, they can't defend themselves. You know, they just obliterate the whole place. And that's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you, she'll be worse than him, because she's a believer in being radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, you really, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, you know, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her running mate signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay, now that's all I have to hear. Tampons in boys' bathrooms, and that means she believes in that too. I mean, she picked this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can survive.
I think it's a massive. I think we're in massive trouble, frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election. And I mean, that's understating my opinion. Now, you know, you may have seen this, but I got a letter from the EU Commission, saying, you know, to not have disinformation on during this discussion that we're having, and you know, there's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship even on Americans from other countries. And you know, what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do business. You know, we have a deficit with them of $250 billion, which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, you know, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. if you add up the European nations that, in terms of an economy, it's about the same size, when you say, as us. And they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. Used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is they're in for 70-something million. I think even less than that, billion, and we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not, but they should, and I did it with NATO. There were only 7 countries that were paid up in NATO out of 28 at the time. And the United States was the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses.
And then we get taken advantage of on trade. So think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's it's like, then okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair, and that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, when you talk about cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics. I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies on the outside. In many cases, the people from within are more dangerous for our country than the Russians and the Chinas. If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
Yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage of
absolutely.
us incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to inhibit their freedom of speech, and I think that says a lot.
Well, the good thing is that you and I have, and some people, very few, we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't, because she's not smart.
Facts.
She's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conversation, but we cover a lot of territory. But the beauty is that we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out without, because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like it's not possible.
Yes.
So this is like talking to an NPC. No. So it's just impossible.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about.
Just respected
and I got
pronouns.
Along with all this. I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner. We had everything, and he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. A lot of people said, "Oh, do you think he really?"
That's for
Let
sure.
me tell you, I saw things that you don't want to know about. He is the boss. But we had a good relationship, and he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man. He said he's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it. But I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. and she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, you know Chairman Xi very well. Can you imagine her and him negotiating, or
No, it's
even
silly. It would be
standing
silly.
together? It is, the whole concept is ridiculous. She is terrible. She's terrible, but she's getting a free ride. I saw a picture of her on Time Magazine today. She looks like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing, and actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, maybe like I think part of what people in America want to, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future.
They want the American dream back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. The Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We could build high-speed connections that are more advanced than anything else in the world between our cities, so people have fast transport. It's possible to solve traffic with tunnels. We've we already made great progress in Vegas doing that, and and just do things that are exciting and inspiring and make the future feel like it's better than the past.
Well, I saw what you did in Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it.
I went through it. It's amazing.
It's incredible.
I'm sick of this
and you
already.
could do that all over. You could do that all over.
Then go. If you don't want to listen to it,
you don't even need much structure. Assuming you're in the right area.
No, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
So and like I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation, with an ability to actually where it's like legal to actually do the tunnels. Then you could have high-speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high-speed transport between cities, and that would be something that Americans can say, wow, okay, we've got something that's cooler than anyone else in the world. That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an American.
And much safer than surface trains where there is a danger there, with crazy people. It's much safer, much better. And, it's sad because I've seen some of the greatest trains. I find it fascinating. And I've seen the systems and how they work, and the bullet trains, they call them, I guess. And they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I think also like there's I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like, I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for improving the speed with which we approve drugs that could help save lives and improve people's lives. And
I worked very hard on that. We got that down to the lowest number ever, and we got therapeutics approved in the FDA that people can't even believe the speed. But I took them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regeneron, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long.
Deregulation.
Yeah, it just takes too long, and it's you end up in the same with the approval, but it's just it takes years instead of something that I think could potentially take
Yeah.
months, that improves people's lives. I think I just wanted to hop on this point that like there has to be an active process for reducing rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big
Well,
deal.
Elon, just
So
getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called
I
Right to
might,
Try.
I might
This is where
famous.
you can go in, and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. But people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved where you can, you basically, look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical companies, nobody wanted it. I got everybody into a room, and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list if somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative. Okay. And as you know, we got it done. We have saved Right to Try. They've been trying to get this done for 58 years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't, because, the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done.
Sure.
Somebody signs, you sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done, and we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to Try. Hopefully you never need it, but if you do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People, if they had money, they go to Asia, they go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and die.
Well, I mean, and actually, to give Europe some props here, it's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe, and it's a drug that, generally speaking, would work. It's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
You're right.
And I think so, as long as people are properly informed of the pros and cons, and like these are the risks, this is the risk, and like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just in sort of closing up, and by the way, I'm looking at the numbers. You got a lot of people listening. I hope you don't get nervous, because you got a lot of people listening to you right now, like 60 million or something. What is that number? It's crazy. It's amazing how you can see that right away. How many? What is the number? Wow. What is it?
Well,
wow.
I think in terms of people,
that's bigger than you said. You said 25, and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70. And I guess over a period of time, hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to weeks, it's going to be hundreds.
That's what they say. Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it. And, they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people. And my mom lives in New York, and I was like, Mom, have any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that sold them? Oh, nothing. They got away. Like, and they just know
They
that
always get away.
nothing's going to, and they don't even bother reporting it because there's not, they know that they're not going to, people are not going to get prosecuted. They just let, violent criminals out in New York.
The
with-
only
with
one that
zero
gets
bail.
prosecuted is Donald Trump. They prosecute Trump.
Yeah, I mean, it's just obviously messed up.
Oh, it's terrible.
If violent criminals are being getting off scot free, and meanwhile the New York spending massive resources prosecuting you, and it's like what's this, and I think the sort of sensible public looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. The legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to some legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one. I mean, this is a very bad precedent what they're doing in terms of going after their political opponent, and that's all it is. It's going after their political opponent, and then you get a judge who's a strong Democrat, and I'm being nice when I say that. In many cases, crooked as hell. But you get a judge, and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though, because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats, and you get into a Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous thing even for the state. New York City is losing. New York City and state lose a lot of business over what they did to me, because these people say, we don't want that to happen to us. That's no justice system. You have an unfair system of justice, and it's costing New York State a tremendous amount of money. People are leaving and companies are leaving, and they won't come back. So, all of that stuff is important. But the economy now is the big thing, and we can turn that economy up so fast, and people are going to be back again. We're going to get rid of inflation.
I think there's a lot of opportunity.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
and I just want
I
want to
think,
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about rockets.
Well, it's kind of you to say. Thank you.
Tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
It's a big risk.
It's a very real risk.
Yep.
And it's, I'd just like to note to people listening, like I've not been very political before. And if you look at my record, I've actually been, I'm not like, sometimes they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd, because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping them with the environment, and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed in the wool long-term Republican. I call myself historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture. And I think this is a case of the America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
Sure.
I think it will take if the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's
Yeah.
even more of an
Well,
honor to have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tish. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone cold killers in many cases and terrorists. And they're in our country by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah. I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think these are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system. Just stop the lawfare, and I think that's like. And how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are just that's just common sense, and that's. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand, the whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you, their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is, if something happens with this election, which would be a horror show, we'll meet the next time in Venezuela, because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country. Okay, so we'll go, you and I will go, and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela, because that's what's happening. Their crime rates coming down and our crime rates going through the roof. And it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet, because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated. And they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes. And then you arrest the violent criminal, and then the DA, doesn't prosecute and just let the guy out. Well, then, like, why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer, and they take away his pension. They take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? What that how can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. You know, we see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you
Yeah.
had about six
Yeah,
of
yeah.
these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot.
Yes.
They would be shot instantly. And you know, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness, and it's such a sad.
Yeah,
It's such a sad thing to see, and that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. You know, when I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land a plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got it back. We took in so many, you know, MS-13 is probably the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama. They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either, not just illegals. So if it's, you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will obviously, by definition, continue to hurt people. And I think where part of this comes from is that there's and I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that you want to have empathy for people. Obviously, you want to have empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You're one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy for society as a whole, not shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because these are really, really violent people. And we're going to get them out of our country, and we're going to get them back to because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people, and they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people, and they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, you know, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight.
Yeah.
And I didn't need this. I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. I didn't need to go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop crime.
Like, the facts speak for themselves.
It's so incredible.
Speak for themselves. Like it's gotten to the point where people just don't even bother reporting crime in a lot of cities because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. So it's just my values. I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is, like, we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about, and that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like, I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry, because they're keeping civilization going right now, and but I do think we want to move a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think and so I mean that's why I'm supporting you for president.
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations. And we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You don't hear. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore. And you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out and do it. And they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they literally have no money. And then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some great things. And I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people, you learn. When I first came in, I tell people I was in Washington, D.C. only 17 times, according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have used them had I known. Now I know everybody, and I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice, otherwise we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. Has been, to me, it's been a lot of fun being with you. You're an amazing guy. You've done an incredible job and a great inspiration to people. A great inspiration, and I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up, and I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election, and I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And It's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got a lot. I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Elon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
That was painfully long, like Cash's
long, bro. Oh my God.
prison sentence.
You realize
Prison
that it's
sentence.
no longer than any other interview that goes on, right?
I know
It's
prison
still- it's
sentence.
all the
I
problems
wasn't
we had
talking,
before.
Kaecey. I wasn't talking about Cash's
Whoa,
penis. I was
Kaecey,
talking about his.
bro. That was very long. 3 hours. That was very
Well,
No,
long.
it wasn't
started an
3
hour
hours.
in.
How long did it take to
We
get
were
it
live
started?
for 3 hours.
Yes.
Forget the speech. We're live for 3 hours. Jesus.
Says the person wanted to do 8 or 12 just
Yeah, well,
overnight
jeez,
on a
bro. I'm
whim.
Are we
tired.
still talking about inches?
It
Okay.
was hard to sit there and listen to Elon talk, bro. He's like so uninteresting.
And I love Elon, but
Me too. He's dope, but his
Yeah,
voice is just like.
I thought the conversation was fantastic.
I think it
Yeah,
was
great
great.
conversation.
Engaged in it.
I think it was very important. I'm just talking shit because it was a little boring, but it's for and I think the amount of people watching, like I look, Benny Johnson had 500,000. We've got 4,700 people watching. There was 1.2 million. I think there was probably listening live somewhere in the neighborhood of 30-ish million people, 20 million people, and more will watch it afterwards. It's a very important thing to have something like that, where there's a lot of people that may have not heard most of the platforms and his personality, which I think his personality wasn't non-Trump like. So I think that there's going to be some people that have issues with the personality of it, where he kind of overtalked Elon, but Elon talked really slow.
Yes, he does.
Ultimately,
he did good. Trump
though,
did fantastic.
I would have loved to have seen Trump ask some questions on Elon about like how they could team up when he becomes president to move AI forward, to move technology forward. That's the one thing I think that was missing from this conversation.
This conversation that happened right now it had to be for people that don't listen to Trump. That's what this was for. This was for people that are not voters, that are maybe on the fence, that don't really listen to Trump much, because he just said everything that we already know, you know what I'm saying, which was good. And I think him doing it with Elon, because a lot of like people that they're not into politics like Elon, you know what I'm saying? So he probably did just open up the door to a whole bunch of different people that probably never would listen to Trump in the first place. So that I will say was dope, but I would rather stab myself with an ice pick in the junk than listen to Elon talk for 3 hours. He was just so bland, bro. He's like white people potato salad.
What is that? What is everybody talking about the dentures? And on our end, I had no trouble hearing Trump's. I thought Trump sounded completely normal. People
No,
are
it was ignorant and biased.
huh?
I don't know.
Ignorant and
I
biased
laughed
is what
at it.
those comments were.
All right. Well, I've seen it on other pages too. That's what they're saying, that he didn't like he had
It sounded like he had a lisp on a couple things that he was saying. I heard it.
I didn't even
a
know.
couple things, not like constant. It was just a couple times where you're talking for freaking 3 hours or 2.5 hours.
No, it was 2 hours. It wasn't over 2. But I think the amount of time, I mean, 2 hours is still a long time. I would love to. We know that Biden can't do that. And 22 days of Kamala Harris, since she has been the nominee for the Democrats, has yet to do an actual sit-down interview. I think that shows the difference between candidates.
Yeah, the big part that you guys are not focusing on here is this exposed everything about the personality of Donald Trump that everybody keeps attacking. This opened up the entire personality that Donald Trump can be personable, have a conversation with people, and be a real man. And this is where it came out. And no, that is where this entire conversation was awesome. And the chat here versus the chat on X were very different. Go and look at X, go look at the comments on X. Everybody was over the moon with this conversation.
Yeah.
And so when you actually go look at it and see and remove a bias and actually engage into it, it was a very good conversation and / interview, because Elon did navigate everything and touch on topics. He did keep Donald Trump on topic. He cut him off and stopped and kept moving. But when it comes to this entire thing, it was fantastic.
It was good. It was good. I'm not knocking it. We don't have bias, bro. We're Trump supporters. We don't have bias. It was my man. For me, it wasn't Trump. I can listen to Trump talk. You know what I'm saying? It's funny. Especially when he gets to saying the little nicknames. That had me cracking up. Newscomb. I've never heard that. Newscomb.
He's been saying that for 2 months.
I miss
Since
that.
since Biden was about to drop out.
Yeah,
That's
funny.
how he's been attacking Newsom. We'll
Yeah,
be
that was
prepping
good.
just in case that's a switch out.
Yeah, no, that was great. It's not that for me. I like you guys see my character, man. I'm like charismatic, right? I like a charismatic conversation. And my man Elon just doesn't do it for me. Like, I love X. Don't get me wrong, Elon. I love you, bro. You're brilliant. Your mind is a genius. But talking isn't your strong point. That's all I'm saying.
I think that the last 20 minutes were some of the most important part. I hope people were still listening.
Yeah.
Because that's when they really talked about that's when Elon made it very clear. There's a lot of people that don't pay attention that think that Elon Musk is this crazy right winger. To hear Elon Musk talk about voting for Obama, to wait for 6 hours to actually meet him, and to do all the things, and the fact that he is seeing that where this country is going, I think that's incredibly important for people to hear. And I hope people were still listening at the end of the 2-hour mark. I would have actually liked them to start out with that introduction.
Yeah, me too.
Because I think that there's a lot of people that will tune out when it's the same Trump stuff.
Yes.
I think starting with, I'm Elon Musk. People think I'm a crazy white right winger. I'm a liberal in many ways. I think would have been a better way to start. But again, I'm not going to judge it. There's millions and millions of people.
People are going to listen to it regardless.
Yeah. It's still going to it already has 1.2 million, and that's just from the listeners that got in, right? But the important part to also think about, this is not your traditional people to do an interview. Elon does have Asperger's, so it is a little bit different. But that's what I think made this conversation. It was raw and real. It wasn't set up like your mainstream media and your typical TV. It was raw and real. Nothing else. And you guys say you want the real stuff. This was as real as you would get.
I wanted harder hitting. I like the climate change.
I could understand that.
I wanted more of the issues to be talked about that he's going to fix and what his plans are. That's what I wanted to hear. Some new plans. Like, what do you got planned other than to fix what was broken from the previous, you know what I'm saying, or from Biden and them? What is the new things that you're going to implement? That right there, he had the perfect platform to talk about, what's the big issue? Black people in the comments, the race thing, saying not that he's not a racist or none of that, but saying like, yo, I had the best unemployment for all races, and this is what I'm gonna do when I get back in office to create more jobs. And this is just policies like that, man. I would have liked him. That's what he gets hit on the hardest.
Yeah.
Again, I think there was a lot of good to it. I can see where they're going to pick it apart, and I can see there being some issues. And I think it's incredibly important. But I think it was two guys having a conversation. It was a Joe Rogan style podcast with a guy that's not Joe Rogan doing the questions. And that's why there was just not there was a lot of points where Trump did the Trump speaking where he's going to get slammed from the left, where he talked about AI. I hear it's pretty good. It's some good stuff. Like, I already hear them going like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So there's some small issues. AI
is amazing.
AI is amazing. I've got friends, but I think that what needs to happen before the election is Joe Rogan and Donald Trump.
Yes. Now that would be something I could listen to that for hours.
Why won't that happen, Kaecey?
It won't happen. The reason why it won't happen is there's some issue. Why do you think? Did you guys not see Donald Trump go after Joe Rogan?
No.
Just a week ago, when Joe Rogan accidentally endorsed RFK, Donald Trump came out and said, "Oh, we'll see how many boos you get at the next UFC event." That will never happen. You won't see those two go.
No, I don't think
Joe Rogan doesn't care about
Joe Rogan ain't like that. He just had Cat Williams on.
Donald Trump will not go on that.
I think he would.
I know. You might, Kaecey. You might be right. I think it's a Donald Trump issue at this point. Because I think for a long time it was a Joe Rogan issue, but I think that they can find a way to make it worthwhile. I think.
Bro, he went to Chicago with a bunch of people that hated him and talked on stage. He would definitely go and sit down with Joe Rogan if given the opportunity.
Joe
100.
Rogan will call me. Do you know why? You know why I don't think it's not as easy as Joe Rogan will do the one thing that Trump is afraid of, and that will be talk about Operation Warp Speed and the
Yes.
vaccine.
Correct. And it will be gloves off. And that's the thing. And that is why I don't think it will happen. I was thinking it was going to happen because it seemed like they were forming a relationship and more of this was coming back like they were pre-COVID. But after seeing that, I don't think it will happen at this point as much as I want it to. I think Joe Rogan's the best podcaster and majority of the world does
In the
too.
world, yeah.
Out there. And so when it comes down to it, I would love to see that. But it is what it is. All in all, tonight was fantastic. I'm sorry people were bored, but I wasn't. And when it comes down to the entire conversation with these two, this is how you're actually going to engage in other people because you're actually going to get Trump's personality out there instead of assumptions.
Kaecey, do you think his personality shone through tonight in a
100%.
No. Do you think it showed through in a really good way to get independence tonight?
Yeah.
I don't
Go
know.
and look at X. Go look at X. Go look at Trump on X. Just put in the hashtag and go look at it. You will see numerous comments, like thousands in there saying that this was just a great conversation between two men,
But
that was showing who they are.
I think, again, like I said, I think the important thing is to get more of the lazy Republicans activated to vote. I think that's the key. I think it could do something like that, but I don't think.
Is that a problem? 70% of Republicans don't show up to vote.
Oh no, I think that's important, but I don't, and I think that it's important that we got in front of people's faces tonight. He did that, but I do think that the typical Trump speaking points that gets him in trouble with some of the moderates, he's still illustrated tonight.
I can understand it, but you're going to have some canned responses for topics either that you don't want or
Trump,
that
let's not forget, Trump stopped the show tonight to see how many millions of people
Yes,
were
bro.
watching.
I noticed that too. I didn't want to say nothing, but I noticed it too. I'm like, what?
Well, you know that's going to. Why are you laughing? We knew would happen.
But I know, but that's Trump, and like I think that what some of the moderates want to see is they want to see a different side. Just be like, I make you a bet you got millions watching. Congratulations, you're great. Issue. Instead, it was like a 6-minute piece of him going.
Got more than ever. I know I got you a lot of views, didn't I? I got you a lot of people watching.
Now, when he joked about
ego.
When he joked about the pay, like getting paid, that was funny because that
right.
was real personality. That was like, I'm getting paid, right? But which is really funny because he's getting 45 mil a month from Elon. So let's not forget that. I could just tell you.
By the way, Elon denied that.
Oh, did he deny it during the thing?
Yeah, go look at when he was caught in the middle of the Capitol when he was going to meet with Netanyahu.
Really?
He said no.
So what does he get? He's giving him something though.
I don't know.
Interesting. Well, I think that I think it was great that it was out there, but it was the standard. I just got an email from Donald J. Trump, not him, his campaign, saying, I just addressed the nation. I just finished addressing the nation with Elon Musk, and I want to speak with you. Give me money. Again, I think it was an important interview. I think it was a big deal. I think it was a very big deal.
I agree.
It was all right.
I think
Ben Johnson had 570,000 people watching at the end on his Twitter. He had about 100,000 on his YouTube. Again, that's one account. You gotta assume that this live viewers that touched on it was at least in the 20-30 million category, which is a big deal no matter how you look at it.
That is disrespectful.
What?
If he had over 76 million people vote for him, how did he only have 30 million people watching?
Because people might have been doing something else.
Just
tonight.
kidding.
We had technical difficulties for the first hour and a half.
we sure the hell did.
So last question. Do we really think there was a cyber attack, or did it just have too many eyes?
So commonly in the tech world, when you have this, you claim DDoS because you end up getting more attention. But DDoS is what? Overwhelmed amount of traffic. We all knew this was going to happen. There was going to be a shitload of traffic coming to X. We didn't know that he would blame it on a DDoS. But That's what he did. But overwhelmingly, amount of traffic wanted to listen to this, and that's what caused the problem. Not a DDoS.
I just want to point out that Elon Musk is an absolute racist.
Yes, he is.
Straight up.
And this is
Super
the big. This is actually a good point. I mean, like
Can I
Elon.
finish? Can I say my funny joke, bro?
No, it wasn't good. I'm just
It
kidding.
was
Go
gonna
ahead.
be funny.
Sorry,
Jesus.
start over. I saw that.
Elon Musk is an absolute racist. All his AI voices are white.
Yeah, we should have just gone right past the joke. So Elon Musk just told the world Kamala Harris's father is a Marxist economist and says, "I think you are the path to prosperity." I think that it is a big deal to see that. I think it's as I've said, there were so many positives. We're picking on some of the little things, and I also know what the media is going to pick on as well. We need to see Trump. We know Kamala is going to have the water held for her by every media organization. We have to see Trump challenge, and Trump has to win an unfair fight. That's the thing. Like this is Gladiator. He got stabbed before the actual final fight, and he has to actually win with a stab wound in his side for him to win the
Trump a
presidency.
handicap.
Yeah, are you calling for another assassination attempt?
No, I'm not calling for another assassination. I'm saying he needs to win everything is against him winning, all the way from the media propping up a shill candidate, the fact that she didn't have to primary, the fact that they're calling Coach Walt. By the way, did you know that he wasn't even the head coach? He was the fucking defensive coordinator.
Correct.
Anyways, they're called like the way that they're holding the water on that side, and we already know that there is illegal immigration that could cause an issue with voting. There's a bunch of different things going on. They even tried to shoot him in the ear. I'm just saying, I think that the fact he is playing against a very stacked deck, and he needs to excel at every possible turn.
I don't disagree with you, because we kind of have to. We already see it in the media. You text this morning, I think it was this morning, saying that Kamala's growing in the polls or whatever, but I don't believe it. I think that's all media.
I don't believe any of the polls anymore. Look at these polls.
I don't understand it. Tim Pool pulled it up this morning, the most recent, all the polls combined, and I'm like, how in the hell do you have Kamala Harris up 7 out of 9 polls? That makes no
sense. The other ones.
It's possible, but it doesn't mean nothing.
I don't think it is, because, and this like I said going into this interview, is the polls show something that makes people think, like, the more that somebody thinks they're winning, the more people will go, I don't feel so bad about voting for Kamala. Correct. I think that the polls, contrary to 2016, polls do something to the psyche of the voters, and I think that it's dangerous. The way that I look at it is, how are they getting those readings out of the 2,000 people they polled for different things, which also do not actually correlate to the Electoral College map, when you can go on Facebook, TikTok.
I got a poll out right now on Instagram. There's 99% of the people literally are like, no, I'm voting Trump.
So how are these, and even on Democrat run pages,
that's what I was just going to pull up and show you.
Are you talking about Ed Krasenstein or whatever?
I was going to do. I think Brian did the poll today.
Brian Krasenstein.
Yeah.
So you've got 74-26 for Trump on a Democrat X page. With
but
hundreds of thousands.
But
so
check it out. You just got to remember this, though, bro. It's the audience. You got to think of who are they asking.
No, this is Krasenstein. They're left.
No, I ain't talking about this. I'm talking about with the media. Who are they asking?
So that's my point. I'm saying, are they rigging polls now in order to make it look closer, because they are going to find a way to make it look closer? I hate to sound like that guy again, but this is where we're at. Like, this is a guy, what's the numbers at? 484,000. Now, polls, when you do a national poll, Rasmussen, all these different polls, you name it, it's under 3,000 people that are polled, but it's a very specific audience of 3,000. This is a random audience of almost 500,000 people, and it's at 75-25. Right. And on top of it, this guy is followed by more Democrats, supposedly, than Republicans. So how can we think the polls are even close to being true?
Correct. That's the part that worries me, right? They're trying to paint this picture.
They're not true. The polls, they're not true. They're only true to the people that they're using. Of course, their polls are going to look like that because they're talking to a bunch of liberals. They know where to walk. They know who to talk to. They know what they're looking for.
But supposedly these are these are what long-held institutions where some of them are considered pretty fair polls. If that's a fair poll, I can see a degree of separation of 1, 2, 3%. Not that big of a percentile. Like I said, when it was still Joe Biden in there, and we did what's his face, Dane Cook, it was 97.3 with hundreds of thousands of responses. I just don't understand how the polls are showing it this close.
I'm gonna ask X right now.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, these numbers just don't make sense. Even take into statistics and how you do math when you do these analytics. No one polls 500,000 people to try to get a number. No one does, because it's very hard to get 500,000 people to take a poll. And now you have it on these Krasentine boys, which all of their polls keep failing. They keep losing by huge numbers when they're trying to put up saying Kamala's going to win, and Donald Trump wins by 30-40% almost every time.
This to me is like, all right, they know the polls have to look a certain way to make it look like a close election. Do I think Kamala is surging? Yeah, I think she's surging to 30%.
That's right. That's the number.
But what's that?
Surging. I was trying to think of that name earlier.
No, I think she's surging, but her surging still isn't good. She's got a very loud minority that's coming out after her. But you have to remember, if you make the polls, and this is not thinking about social media, if you make the polls look close enough, they could do it. Sound like that guy. They can do whatever they want on November 5th.
Agreed.
Because they can say, this points to the polls. Yeah, but what about social media? This points to the polls. What about Kraz? This points to the polls. What about Dane Cook? This points to the polls. They're able to use that. So why is it that it seems like these are such manufactured numbers? If we were looking at polls on Republican only pages, different story. I'd be like, all right, it's a little weird, but I mean, yeah, I get okay. So it's still a pretty big margin. We are looking at either moderate, non-political, or actual leftist pages where their algorithm is full of leftist people, and they're still losing by massive numbers. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. But this is coming back to exactly what Eric Trump said when he was on with Benny Johnson and Elena Haba. And so when they were actually doing Benny Johnson's little podcast thing outside, Eric Trump said, we have to take this election like we are behind. And that is so true, because Republicans get complacent. They put their work and other things over voting. And so that is where you end up with low voter numbers. If all Republicans showed up and vote, every single one of them, you would never lose.
But I mean, couldn't the same be said for Democrats too? Well, I mean, I don't think so. I think the Democrats have a higher percentage that show up.
Yeah, they do. But if all Republicans would show up, it would be very hard for the Democrats to make up that difference, because we're already talking about the point of how do you get a few thousand more? You can't, because it's so difficult to get that many people to show up. So on November 5th, I challenge all of you to bring your neighbors, bring anybody, take them to the ballot and allow them to vote and help them get there. That is how you can make this happen, is you help them participate in voting. Do whatever in your laws of your state that fits. Some states have very different laws on how you can help people vote. But I can tell you, in all 50 states, you can drive them to the polls and then they can vote. Like, that is legal in all 50 states. So that is how it will get done on November 5th.
Great. Well said. Well, since we got people watching, as a reminder, we do have a lot of ways to support the channel. First off, Kash will tell you a little something about shopping American if he can get past his cough as he's sucking down the vape like he did in prison with ramen. All right.
What?
Who told you about ramen? I'm just kidding. Come on.
Go ahead.
All right, man. Check it out. If you guys are interested in buying American, shopping American, supporting American-made business, and actually helping your own health and your own wellness, then you need to go to freedomboxinfo.com. All right. This is our way of protesting with our dollar. Battle against the woke ideology, because that's really what it comes down to. A lot of these companies, they give you things that's bad for your health, and they also give you a bad message when you walk in there by the things that they support. And if you don't support the things that they support, I'm not going to mention what they are, you should already know, especially if you're like us, then go to freedomboxinfo.com and protest with your dollar. All right, fill it out. I give you a call and we can talk. I'm looking for people actually, not just to shop. I want business partners. I'm trying to build a bigger brand. All right. And the only way to do that is with Americans supporting American business. So let's do this together. All right. freedomboxinfo.com.
When you're talking about messages that they're doing, are we talking about like trying to teach 13-year-olds how to blow each other if they're two boys?
Hey, I mean,
that's I mean, because
all
those books
types
are
of
in
stuff.
Target. Those books
It's
are in
all
Target.
types of stuff, bro, that I could go into about it, but I don't want to get into it. They know, people know what we're talking about. So yeah, if you cannot shop there, that's what we try to do. We try to, if we don't gotta go shop there, we don't. Sometimes we understand you have to, because there's things that you got to get from there that they don't have anywhere else. But the things that you can buy that are American made, you should be supporting that. All right. And the best way to do that is with this company that we are affiliates with, partnered with, really. That's the way to do it. And it's been around for 40 years. 40 years. They say that we don't care about the climate and all that. Guess what? All of this stuff is green, man. But it's beautiful. It's like, it's just the best products that you ever get. Even the cologne. I got some cologne. I'm talking about, I walk through the store, champagne be ready to smack me because girls be turning their head like, smell it. I'm telling you, it's the truth.
It makes Kash have to recycle that ass. And yeah, I mean, if you think that Governor Waltz would go to the store that you would want to shop at, I can tell you he's not a Freedom Box kind of guy. He would prefer the children in the back. I mean, with tampon.
Whoa.
Whatever. Moving on. Also, real quick, guys. So Kelly just shared something on her page today because we got some horse stuff going on with Century H2O. Got a lot of buzz, and a lot of people actually were talking about buying home units on top of it, as well as whole home units on top of the sink. They got a lot of stuff. They actually have a shower one now as well. If you don't want to do the whole home, you want to do the under sink for drinking water and a shower one. Just make sure you're getting good water on your skin. It puts the lotion on. Go to Century H2O to use Russo 10 for 10% off. They do a lot. They're supporting the border. I was talking actually to Nelson, the owner, before the call, which is why I was late. We went long, but centuryh2o.com, use Russo 10 for 10% off. It is, I'm going to stand by this. It is the best filtration system, especially under sink, that you will get in the market. It gets rid of all the forever chemicals. It adds oxygen back into the water, as well as magnesium and some other quality minerals, gets rid of the bad stuff. I'm going to encourage you guys, please go to centuryh2o.com, use Russo 10 for 10% off. The gear that we're wearing, Kash is wearing the signature wife beating shirt. There it is. Are we allowed to say wife beater anymore? I don't think you can say it anymore. WaitNotWokeStore.com. We used to call it a guinea t-shirt. My dad did. He was Italian. WaitNotWokeStore.com. Use Truth for 20% off. That's actually the shirt that, you guys need to buy some of our merchandise, because Kash is in a little bit of pinch for cash, because that is literally the shirt that is the tank top that he wore in the original when are Black Lives going to matter to Black people? We need to buy him some.
It's not even the title. Get the title right if you're going to reference it.
What was it?
Black Lives Matter, but when a Black Lives going to matter to us.
Was that really what it was?
Mm-hmm.
I prefer we're going to martial law your ass.
That one was real good. That was a good video. It's still up on my YouTube.
What else we got? Is that all of it? These guys just sent me a new video, so we got to share some of their videos. They got a bunch of stuff now. Go to griddownshowdown.com /truth. You could use Truth to check out for 15% off. That meat is it's 15 years shelf life on ground beef. It is real ground beef. That you just put some water, boil it up. It's, for the apocalypse, which would be for Kamala Harris's presidency. Let's be very clear. So we talked Freedom Box, we talked Century H2O, we talked about the water, all the good stuff. That's it. That's good.
Address that.
Yes, freedomboxinfo.com. freedomboxinfo.com.
Fill out Yo Info. Kash will send you a few nudes, and then you will start to talk about all the different products.
I'm actually offering, never mind. Let me stop there. I'm trying to be better. God, help me. Help me, God. Let's just keep going.
Yes, Erica. All right. Moving on. Anything else? Final words?
Don't trust the government.
I thought Kaecey was going to yell at us for calling that boring. That wasn't boring, you mother effers.
Oh, he was getting there. He was in his feels for a second. We reeled him back in. He's all right now.
No, honestly,
he got in his feels for a second. Why don't you guys just sign off?
Well,
Just get the F
oh, I
out of
was
here.
absolutely, because you guys didn't even want to listen to it. So it's like,
We
then just
love
sign
you,
off, guys.
Kaecey. Shut up.
I
We
wanted to
love
listen
you.
to it, but I was just, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I find this stuff interesting, but I could tell it was a little snoozy for some people. I'm just saying.
All right, then I'll just do the next one by myself.
Oh, Kaecey.
That'll be his theme song. All
All
by
by
myself.
Facts. You guys can enjoy your meta platforms. That's it.
Oh, we love you, bro. Stop it.
You can get that Pure Blood hat at the Awake Now Woke store too, by the way. Okay. That's all we got, guys. Have a great night. Unite, don't fight.
Be a street light. Because only you can be the change you wish to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America. Because without God, everything falls apart. And that's a fact.
Woo, Elon!
Yeah, brother. No, Elon.